Hi, I'm this guy. I bought some of this on one of these, with a couple of those on it, to do I don't really know what. But I have lofty goals and little money, so I give you low budget, high desert. Hello, and welcome to an episode of Low Temperature, High Discomfort. It is 24 degrees over here in the high desert this morning. There's a there's a layer of frost coating everything. Water is frozen partially. The ground is as hard as a rock, not including the rocks. Holy crap. Is that the beginning of an icicle I see? Yeah, it's pretty cold. And as a result, I didn't sleep that well because my cabin, while partially insulated, is not completely insulated and not really that warm. I got the most important part done, which is the roof. A lot of the heat escapes through the roof, especially when it's just plywood. But the sides, totally uninsulated. The back wall, uninsulated. Sides, uninsulated. The front, insulated against cattle noise, I guess, but not so much for heat. You can't really tell from the display, but it's so cold that my solar power won't charge. I tried wrapping it in an electric blanket so it can warm itself, but even that is not doing it. Something else needs to happen. That something comes in the form of this old wood stove, which I patched up recently. There's some cracks in it and an extra chimney port that didn't have a cover. But today, I don't think I can spend another night as cold as I was, so I'm gonna do something a little bit crazy. Recently, I had my grandmother down here to put down this tile pad. I didn't make an episode out of that because it would be kind of weird just standing over her filming putting down tile. But the result is pretty good. A nice big spot that's fireproof with concrete board. And I'm just going to put the stove right there after putting it together and run the chimney straight up through the peak of the roof. Have the stove as centrally located as possible. And hopefully that should warm this little ice box up enough to the point where I'm not literally freezing overnight. Can't really see in there. Let's grab a flashlight. It's a pretty decently sized firebox, so I can get a good bed of coals going in that, and hopefully the radiant heat, if I run it for a few hours before bed, will be enough to at least keep me above freezing temperatures. There's a lot of concessions being made here, right? I don't have hugely high expectations until it's all insulated. But yeah, it's going to be coming out, the chimney is probably going to be coming out right about there. And based on my limited understanding of smokodynamics, I think that having the chimney come out close to the peak of the roof will mean that it vents a lot better. The wind can take it out without any sort of obstruction, I think. I'm not sure. I've got this absolute unit, which is a flashing little pass-through for the chimney to go through. I guess insulates it from touching anything. Not really sure how this works. I'm going to be completely honest if I haven't made that clear already. And then I have this, which blocks rain from coming in. Probably want to put some sort of grate on that to also block chipmunks from coming in. One thing at a time, though. So in theory, the grate goes on top. I screw that down. The chimney goes on that. I use a hose clamp to keep the majority of poisonous gases in the stove and venting out through the top. I do have some CO detectors. I'm going to be very sad if it turns out this thing leaks, because I won't know what to do. Either I get to freeze to death or I get to be asphyxiated. I'm not sure which is worse. Okay, we're going to try and put together some chimney now. This stuff is very sharp, so you'll see me wearing gloves. But I guess these just sort of friction fit together, and then go from one to the other, tapered section to not tapered section. I'm not really sure, but we're about to find out. Okay, first chimney section in. That was Kind of a struggle, but I'm just going to run it up through here and then through the roof. Hopefully it's that easy. Here's that. Cut a hole in my house. Plumb line going up to where it's going to go through the roof. So now I got to drill a hole through the roof and take off the shingling around it. Hopefully it's not too frosty to climb up there. There we go. It is now up through the roof. Feels real bad to have a hole going down into my living space, but it's a necessary evil. And I'm going to use some of this, an old piece of stovepipe, to sort of create a insulated pass-through right here, and then I'm going to slide this flashing over the whole thing and get underneath some shingles. Sort of like that. Not a problem in the world you can't solve with some gaffer's tape. And then, with a bunch of struggling and unavoidable injury, I think that is pretty much how you put a chimney in. Got it all siliconed up. Should be watertight in a number of minutes. Got that to block the rain. I don't have a grate. I'll need to put something like that in later. But for now, I think it's just put the shingling back on, do a little more siliconing, and then try and fire this thing up. And that should just about do it for work up here. I got that shingled in a way that it probably should shed water. I guess we'll see next time it rains. And then in order to cover up how crappy it looks, I'm just gonna paint it. A pint of paint covers 1,000 sins. We are about to embark on the first lighting of the stove. I'm hoping it works because the solar charger is still too cold to work, so I need to put it next to this thing to heat it up. Here's hoping I don't vent a bunch of carbon monoxide and smoke into my house. Here is more or less what I'm thinking for the final setup. I've got my kindling, I've got my wood for burning, and the stove, which has worked great and has stopped off-gassing nasty fumes. So yeah, I'm gonna actually be warm tonight, and the solar power works again. So it all works out. Fantastic.